The Orion, Nebu, Orion Black League Draco-Greys Astral Legends. In the deep reaches of the Orion constellation, where empires rose and fell in the void of eternity, three factions waged an ancient war: Nebu, the Orion Black League, and the dreaded Draco-Greys. Their conflict, older than humanity itself, shaped the destinies of entire civilizations. The rise of the Nebu. The Nebu, a race of golden-skinned celestial beings, were known across the stars as the architects of light. Millennia ago, they seeded life across galaxies, sculpting civilizations from dust. They had once stood as guardians of cosmic balance, but time and corruption had eroded their once noble purpose. Their rulers, the High Nebu, resided in the luminous city of Aru, orbiting the blue giant Bellatrix. From their throne, they wielded power over the lesser star systems, ensuring their dominion over Orion. Yet, not all within the Nebu Empire agreed with their supremacy. A faction within their ranks, a rogue brotherhood known as the Orion Black League, sought to overthrow the High Nebu. The rebellion of the Orion Black League. The Orion Black League was composed of warriors, scholars, and exiled nobles who had once sworn allegiance to the Nebu but had grown disillusioned. Led by the enigmatic warlord Sultoreth, they abandoned the ways of cosmic order in pursuit of chaos. They sought forbidden knowledge, unraveling the deepest mysteries of space, and forged dark alliances with beings beyond moral comprehension. Sultoreth, an ex-Nebu general, had uncovered a horrifying truth. The Nebu were not the creators of life, but mere inheritors of an ancient power, stolen from another race, Draco-Greys. The League vowed to destroy the Nebu's empire, believing they were unworthy of their stolen birthright. To accomplish this, they turned to the last remnants of the Draco-Greys, a sinister species that had once ruled the Orion arm with cold efficiency. The return of the Draco-Greys. The Draco-Greys, a hybrid species born from the genetic manipulation of reptilian draconian warlords and gray bioscientists, had been the dominant force in Orion long before the rise of the Nebu. Masters of mind control, genetic engineering, and interdimensional warfare, they had once enslaved entire civilizations. However, the Nebu had nearly eradicated them in a cataclysmic war that left Orion's space-time fabric scarred. What remained of their kind had retreated into the shadowy depths of the Zeta Reticuli system, waiting for an opportunity to reclaim their throne. Sultoreth, seeking their aid, ventured into the forbidden void and struck a perilous bargain. In exchange for their allegiance, he offered them something the Draco-Greys had long sought: access to the Nebu's ancient genetic archives, hidden beneath the pyramids of Al-Nidak. The Draco-Greys accepted, but with their own ambitions. They had no interest in serving the League or the Nebu. Their goal was singular total dominion over Orion, and the enslavement of all sentient life. The battle for Orion, as the alliance between the League and the Draco-Greys solidified, the Nebu prepared for war. Their celestial fleets, powered by the energy of dying stars, converged above the twin moons of Mintaka, where the first battle of the Orion War erupted. Golden Nebu starships clashed with the shadowy, sleek vessels of the League, while Draco-Grey bioships, grotesque living machines, tore through both sides with eerie precision. The fabric of space trembled as weapons of unimaginable power tore holes in the void. Sultoreth led the charge against the High Nebu's flagship, the Rosref, a vessel said to be older than Orion itself. With him were the Draco-Grey overlords, their psychic influence rippling through the battlefield, breaking the minds of Nebu warriors. But the Nebu had their own secret. Deep within Aru, they had awakened an ancient weapon, Starborn Titan, an entity of pure energy that had been sleeping since the dawn of time. As the Titan emerged, its golden light engulfed the battlefield, disintegrating ships with celestial fire. The Draco-Greys recoiled, their living ships shrieking as they dissolved in the Titan's radiance. The League, realizing their mistake, turned against their former allies, severing the fragile alliance. But it was Delatedi Nebu unleashed a final, devastating strike, forcing both the League and the Draco-Greys to scatter across the cosmos. Epilogue: the fractured Orion. The war did not end that day, but the balance had shifted. The Nebu remained in power, though weakened and forever wary of rebellion. The Orion Black League, though scattered, lurked in the void, biding their time for another strike. The Draco-Greys, though diminished, had not been destroyed, and whispers of their return echoed through the darkest corners of the galaxy. The battle for Orion was far from over. It was only the beginning. And so, the legend of the Orion War lived on, an astral saga written in the eternal dance of the stars. The Orion, Nebu, Orion Black League Draco-Greys Astral Legends. The Orion, Shadows of the Void. The aftermath of the Orion War. The great battle over Mintaka had ended, but the scars of war lingered across the Orion arm. The Nebu, though victorious, were fractured. Their celestial fleets, once symbols of unchallenged dominion, lay in ruins. Their ruler, High Sovereign Radal, stood upon the shattered throne of Aru, contemplating the whispers of rebellion still festering within his ranks. Meanwhile, the Orion Black League had been driven into exile. Its leader, Soltoreth, barely escaping the wrath of the stubborn Titan, stranded on a barren moon orbiting Rigel. He plotted in the shadows, gathering what remained of his forces. His failure had cost him the loyalty of many, but his thirst for vengeance against the Nebu burned stronger than ever. But beyond both factions, lurking in the abyss of forgotten space, the Draco-Greys were far from defeated. The catastrophe at Mintaka had only set them back. They adapted, and their vengeance would come in ways neither the Nebu nor the League could foresee. The rise of the Forgotten. In the depths of the Zeta Reticuli system, the surviving Draco-Grey overlords convened in the Void Temple of Zircon, an artificial construct woven from the remains of dead stars. The last of their kind, the overlords no longer sought mere conquest. They sought something far greater: ascension. Through stolen Nebu genetic archives, they had uncovered long-lost fragments of the primordial code, the ancient blueprint that had given birth to all intelligent life in the Orion arm. With it, they could evolve beyond their current forms, shedding the last remnants of mortality. But for this ascension to be complete, they required something they no longer possessed: a perfect host. And so, they turned their gaze to an unlikely source: humanity. Earth, the unknowing keystone. Far from the chaos of Orion, on the quiet, unsuspecting world of Earth, a war was about to begin only that no human was prepared for. For centuries, agents of the Nebu had watched over Earth, protecting it from external influence. The Draco-Greys, long exiled, had attempted to infiltrate this primitive world many times, planting whispers in the minds of Earth's leaders, abducting select individuals, and manipulating events from the shadows. But now, their patience was at an end. Earth was no longer just a petri dish for genetic experiments. It was the missing link in their evolution. Through their network of mind-bound servants, the Draco-Greys activated their sleeper agents, hidden within human governments, corporations, and secret societies. Their goal was to engineer a global crisis, one that would allow them to abduct millions in a single sweep. The Nebu, realizing the impending catastrophe, dispatched their own emissaries, the last remnants of their warrior caste, known as the Celestial Sentinels. Their mission was clear: stop the Draco-Greys at all costs. But Earth was no longer an isolated battleground. From the shadows, Soltoreth and the Orion Black League watched with keen interest. If Earth was truly as important as the Draco-Greys believed, then perhaps it held the key to their own survival. And so, as the final war for Orion began, humanity stood unknowingly at the center of it all. A storm was coming, and this time, no world would be spared. To be continued. The awakening of Earth. The stars above Earth shimmered with unseen movements. To the untrained human eye, it was nothing but the usual dance of constellations. But for those who knew the hidden war waged beyond the veil of perception, the Orion arm was shifting, and Earth was now the center of it all. In the depths of the Arctic, beneath the ice-covered ruins of an ancient, forgotten city, something stirred. The vault of the First Ones, a relic predating even the Nebu, had remained sealed for thousands of years. Inside, dormant entities, beings of unfathomable power, awaited their reawakening. The Draco-Greys had long sought this place, believing that within the vault lay the secret to their final ascension. But they were not the only ones searching for it. The Nebu's last guardians. Aboard the Celestial Sentinel warship Ross Ember, High Warden Sarkale stood before a holographic display of Earth. His golden eyes narrowed with worry. The Nebu were weakened, their empire fractured by the war against the Orion Black League. Yet they could not afford to abandon this world. Earth is the keystone, Sarkale muttered, glancing at his second-in-command, Captain Amara. If the Draco-Greys unlock the vault, their evolution will be complete. They will transcend mortality, and we will be powerless to stop them. Amara, a seasoned warrior, frowned. Then we must act now. We cannot allow the humans to remain unaware. If they understood the truth, they would fight alongside us. Sarkale shook his head. They are not ready. Their leaders are divided, manipulated by the Draco-Greys' influence, and the League lurks in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. We cannot trust anyone, not even Earth's defenders. Despite his words, he knew that soon, secrecy would no longer be an option. The Draco-Greys were preparing their next move. The Shadow War begins. In a hidden underground base beneath the Nevada desert, General Elias Hunter, leader of the highly classified Project Eclipse, stared at the decrypted transmission before him. The message was intercepted from an unknown satellite Aoni that shouldn't exist. It was a warning. They are here. They welcome on you. The war has begun. Hunter had spent decades chasing whispers of an extraterrestrial war, abductions, mind control experiments, and sightings of strange crafts had been dismissed as conspiracy theories. But he knew the truth. Something was coming, something that not even Earth's greatest militaries could comprehend. And now, something was trying to warn them. Give me an emergency briefing with the Security Council, Hunter commanded. If this is real, we're already at war. The League's gambit. Meanwhile, in the ruins of an abandoned space station orbiting Jupiter, Soltorath watched the unfolding chaos with a smirk. The Nebu and the Draco-Greys were so consumed with their war that they had overlooked an undeniable truth: the Orion Black League was not defeated. We let them fight, Soltorath told his followers, a band of exiled warriors and rogue scientists. Let them weaken each other, and when the time comes, we will strike not just to destroy the Nebu, but to claim the vault of the first ones for ourselves. He turned to his most trusted lieutenant, Vela Thorn, a former Nebu tactician who had defected to the League. Prepare our infiltration teams. Earth is the key to everything. If we take control of its resources and its people, we will control Orion itself. Vela nodded, her cybernetic implants gleaming under the dim station lights. And what of the humans? They are fragile, but some of them are interesting. Soltorath's smirk widened. Then we will give them a choice: serve us, or be erased from existence. The Draco-Greys strike. In the dead of night, across the globe, reports of strange phenomena surged. Citizens vanished without a trace. Entire towns in remote locations went silent. Mass hallucinations, memory distortions, and unexplained blackouts plagued major cities. The Draco-Greys had begun their harvest. Their bio-ships, hidden behind layers of interdimensional cloaking, hovered silently over Earth, releasing pulse waves designed to disrupt human neurological activity. Their sleeper agents, humans who had been unknowingly subjected to genetic modifications, activated, carrying out sabotage missions in key facilities. But the Draco-Greys were not reckless. Their approach was precise, systematic. They would not launch a full invasion yet. Instead, they would break Earth from within, corrupting its institutions, controlling its leaders, and turning its people against one another. And when the world was ripe for conquest, they would make their final move. The war on the horizon. The Nebu prepared for their intervention. The Orion Black League sharpened their daggers in the shadows. The Draco-Greys tightened their grip. And humanity, they stood on the edge of oblivion, unaware of the cosmic battle that would soon engulf them. The stars had already chosen their sides. And soon, Earth would have to choose as well. To be continued. The breaking of Earth. The war had come to Earth. Cities burned under an unseen war. Battles fought not with armies but with minds, technology, and forces beyond human comprehension. The Draco-Greys, hidden behind interdimensional veils, had infiltrated the highest levels of human government, twisting leaders into puppets. Their mass abductions and genetic experiments were accelerating, bringing them closer to unlocking the vault of the first one's key to their ultimate ascension. The Nebu, once rulers of Orion, had deployed their last surviving warriors, celestial sentinels, to prevent the Draco-Greys from succeeding. High-Warden Sarkael led the resistance from orbit, his fleet engaging in skirmishes with cloaked enemy vessels, while operatives on Earth sought to awaken humanity to the truth. Meanwhile, the Orion Black League, led by the vengeful Sultoreth, moved in the shadows, manipulating both sides. They had no interest in saving Earth or preserving balance. Their goal was absolute power, and they believed that in the ashes of this war, they would be the ones to rise. But time was running out. The vault of the First Ones, hidden deep beneath the Arctic IQ, was beginning to awaken, and once opened, it would determine the fate of not only Earth, but all of Orion. The final battle for Orion. The first strike came in the dead of night. The Draco-Greys, sensing their time was near, unleashed a final mass abduction event. Entire cities went dark, their populations vanishing in seconds. The remaining humans, those resistant to their control, found themselves alone in a world on the brink of collapse. From the void, the Nebu's war fleet descended, revealing themselves to humanity for the first time in millennia. Massive golden ships, their hulls inscribed with ancient glyphs, broke through the clouds, sending shockwaves across the planet. Humanity's Project Eclipse, under the command of General Elias Hunter, scrambled to respond, their experimental technology barely capable of standing against forces so vast. Yet, it was the Orion Black League that made the boldest move. Sultoreth's forces, equipped with stolen Nebu and Draco-Grey technology, launched a full-scale infiltration of the vault. Their plan was to harness the power of the First Ones for themselves to become gods among mortals. And so, beneath the ice, the final battle began. The awakening of the First Ones. Beneath the Arctic, the vault pulsed with an ancient power. The closer the factions got, the more reality itself twisted. Time slowed, space bent, and voices from forgotten eons whispered in the minds of those who dared enter. The Draco-Greys, standing at the threshold of their long-awaited ascension, initiated the final sequence to unlock the vault. But then Nebu would not allow it. Sarkael and his sentinels stormed the subterranean chamber, engaging in close combat against both the League and the Greys. Blades of celestial light clashed against energy weapons, psychic waves shattered minds, and the very walls of the vault trembled under the weight of the battle. In the chaos, Sultoreth reached the core of the vault, the heart of the First Ones. A crystalline construct containing the primordial code floated before him. If he claimed it, he could rewrite reality itself. But the Draco-Greys had been waiting for this moment. In a single, decisive betrayal, they turned on their former allies. Their overlord, Sure, extended a clawed hand and ripped Sultoreth's mind from his body, absorbing his knowledge, his power, and his ambition. The Orion Black League had been nothing more than a means to an end, pawns in a grander game. As the Sure prepared to activate the heart, the vault itself rejected him. For the power within was not meant for conquerors. The walls split open, revealing the true First Ones, beings of pure, unfathomable energy. They had never been dead, only waiting for the right moment to return. And now, they had judged all who sought their power. In an instant, a pulse of light erupted from the vault, disintegrating the Draco-Greys in a single, merciless sweep. Their ships fell from the sky, their genetic experiments erased, their influence shattered across Orion. The Nebu, humbled, fell to their knees. They had once thought themselves gods, but they now knew they had merely been caretakers of a power far beyond them. And humanity? They had survived. The new dawn. With the Draco-Greys destroyed, the war was over. The Nebu, knowing they could no longer claim dominion over the stars, withdrew from Earth, leaving behind only the knowledge that humanity was now ready to join the greater galactic order. The remnants of the Orion Black League scattered, leaderless and hunted. Their dream of conquest had died with Sultoreth. The vault of the First Ones, having served its purpose, sealed itself once more, disappearing beneath ice, waiting for the next cycle of history to unfold. Earth, though forever changed, had endured. But as Sarkael looked upon the stars, he knew this was only the beginning. A greater war was still coming, beyond Orion, beyond anything they could imagine. And when it arrived, humanity would no longer be mere pawns. They would be ready. Epilogue: The Watchers Beyond. In the silent void beyond the Milky Way, something stirred. A watching presence, neither Nebu, Draco-Grey, nor human, observed the unfolding events with ancient, emotionless eyes. Orion had been but a battleground in a far greater struggle. And soon, the real war would begin. The stars whisper of a new name. The harbingers were coming. And this time, no galaxy would be spared. The end, for now. Final thoughts. This concludes the Orion, Nebu, Orion Black League Draco-Greys Astral Legends, but I left the door open for a sequel if you ever want to expand the universe. It looks like you want a continuation. Since the Harbingers were hinted at in the epilogue, I can expand the story into a sequel where Orion's factions must prepare for an even greater cosmic threat. Here's the next chapter, setting up the next saga. The Orion, the Harbinger War. Prologue, the Omen. Far beyond Orion, in the blackness between galaxies, something awoke. They were not Nebu, they were not Draco-Greys. They were something older, something primal. For eons, they had slumbered, watching civilizations rise and fall. They had no need for conquest, no desire for power, only purpose. And that purpose was simple: to purge the weak. Aboard the celestial sentinel warship Ra's Ember, High Warden Sarkale stared at the anomaly on his star charts. A rift, a breach in space-time, had been detected at the outer edge of the Orion arm. Signals impossible, fragmented messages were coming through. Then, the message changed. It was no longer just data, it was a warning. Your cycle is over, the Harbingers have arrived. Then, silence. Sarkale turned to his crew, his golden eyes dark with understanding. Orion had just survived a war of extinction, but the real war had only just begun. Chapter 1: The Gathering Storm. The Orion Black League's last hope. In the ruins of Zultorith's former hideout, a single survivor remained. Vela Thorn, the last of the League's high command, stood before a shattered holo display, watching the data stream of the Harbinger's arrival. She knew what this meant. The League had failed to take control of Orion, but if the Harbingers were truly coming, then all factions, Nebu, human, and even the shattered remains of the Draco-Greys would fall. Unless she did something about it. With a deep breath, Vela sent a transmission across the galaxy, activating a secret failsafe hidden by Zultorith long ago. A message was sent to all surviving warlords, mercenaries, and exiles of Orion. The League is not dead. A greater enemy has come. We must unite or perish. Earth's last line of defense. On Earth, General Elias Hunter stood at the edge of a ruined battlefield, gazing at the night sky. Humanity had survived the war with the Draco-Greys, but at a terrible cost. The world governments were still recovering, trying to understand the truth that they had never been alone. But now, Earth faced something far beyond their comprehension. Project Eclipse was already mobilizing. Secret alliances had been formed with rogue Nebu factions, remnants of the Celestial Sentinels, and even defected Draco-Grey scientists who had seen the horrors beyond Orion. But would it be enough? Hunter turned to the shadowed figure beside him. So, he said grimly, do you still believe the Harbingers are just a myth? The figure, clad in Nebu war armor, removed their helmet. Amara, former captain of the Celestial Sentinels, met his gaze. They are no myth, she said, and if we don't prepare now, Orion will burn. Chapter 2: The Harbingers arrive. Across Orion, the stars begin to go dark. One by one, entire solar systems vanish, not destroyed, not conquered, but erased from existence, as if they had never been there. And then, the first Harbinger warships emerged. Massive, incomprehensible vessels of obsidian black metal, their surfaces writhing with an unnatural energy. They moved in silence, without communication, without warning. And then, the destruction began. The first Nebu colony disintegrated in moments. Its planetary defenses useless. The Harbingers were not an enemy that could be bargained with. They had come to reset the cycle, to purge Orion of all unworthy life, to erase history itself. A war begins. The Nebu, the Orion Black League, the remnants of the Draco-Greys, and humanity itself had no choice but to unite. Because for the first time in history, Orion was no longer fighting for power. It was fighting for survival. To be continued. The Orion, the Harbinger War, Final Chapter. Chapter 3, The Final Alliance. The galaxy was on the brink of annihilation. The Harbingers were unlike anything Orion had faced before, immense and unyielding, driven by a purpose older than the stars themselves. With each passing day, their forces consumed entire star systems, erasing them from existence without a trace. Sarkel, the last of the Nebu High Wardens, now led a unified front, a coalition that was unimaginable only months ago. The Nebu, the Orion Black League, and humanity had set aside their centuries-old rivalries in the face of a common enemy. In the war room aboard the Ras Ember, Sarkel stood, with General Elias Hunter and Vela Thorn, the leader of the Black League. "We must strike at the heart of their fleet," Sarkel said, his voice heavy with resolve. "Only then can we hope to stop the Harbingers from wiping out all life in the galaxy." Hunter nodded. "We've analyzed their attacks. The Harbingers are methodical, but they're not invincible. If we hit them with a coordinated strike using human ingenuity and Nebu technology, we have a chance." Vela leaned forward. "But we don't know where the Harbingers are coming from. They don't leave behind any trace, no signal we can track. Their warships just appear out of nowhere." Amara, standing by the communications array, suddenly spoke up. "Actually, I believe I know where they're coming from. I've studied their attacks. Their patterns are using a transdimensional rift. It's a portal that leads beyond this galaxy, where they reside, waiting until the moment was right to invade. We can use this knowledge. If we destroy their rift generator, we'll cut off their reinforcements." Sarkel's eyes gleamed with hope. "Then we will need all our forces or last fleets, and the full might of Project Eclipse. The time for secrecy is over. We'll face them head on." Chapter 4, Into the Void. The combined fleet, consisting of Nebu warships, human military forces, and the last remnants of the Black League's forces, set course for the coordinates provided by Amara. They were heading into uncharted space, into the heart of the rift that had brought the Harbingers to Orion. As they neared the rift, the stars around them began to distort, bending unnaturally. Ships shuddered, and the eerie silence of space was shattered by the hum of their engines. The rift loomed ahead, a swirling vortex of shifting colors adhere in the fabric of reality itself. "This is it," General Hunter said, his voice a mixture of determination and dread. "Once we enter, there's no turning back." Sarkel took a deep breath, staring at the swirling rift. "We fight for the future of Orion." With a coordinated strike, the fleet entered the rift, warships slipping into the unknown. The rift stretched before them, expanding into a dark and twisted landscape of space outside of time, where reality itself seemed to bend. And there, in the distance, the Harbinger fleet awaited. The battle that followed was unlike anything seen before. The Harbinger's ships were immense, their weapons capable of erasing entire fleets with a single strike. The Nebu, League, and human forces fought with everything they had, pushing forward through the storm of destruction. Vela's voice rang through the comms. "We need to reach the rift generator. It's located at the center of their fleet. We're going to have to cut our way through." The ships clashed, energy weapons lighting up the dark expanse, explosions rippling through space. Human warships, despite their smaller size, darted in and out of the chaos, using speed and agility to outmaneuver the larger Harbinger vessels. Nebu ships, with their ancient technology, launched devastating counterattacks, while the Orion Black League's more covert forces infiltrated enemy lines, sabotaging key Harbinger vessels from within. But despite their best efforts, the Harbingers fought with an unstoppable force. Sarkel's flagship, the Ras Ember, was heavily damaged in the initial waves, but the crew pushed on, determined to complete their mission. Chapter 5, The Heart of the Harbingers. As they reached the center of the Harbinger fleet, the rift generator towered before them, a massive structure of dark energy, its form shifting and ever-changing. At the base, a series of Harbinger warlords stood, guarding the generator with fierce determination. "We make our final stand here," Sarkel shouted, rallying his forces. The warriors of the Nebu, League, and humans charged, their combined strength enough to break through the Harbinger defenses. Vela and Amara led a squadron deep into the heart of the enemy lines, fighting their way toward the rift generator. The ground beneath them cracked as the fabric of space itself tore apart, but they fought on, knowing that this was the only chance they had. Finally, they reached the rift generator. Amara, with her expert knowledge of Nebu technology, activated the device that would disrupt the rift's power source. "We have to overload it," she said, planting the charges. "This will destroy the rift, but it's going to cost us." "We don't have a choice," Sarkale said, his voice grim. "Do it." With a final push, the device activated, sending a shockwave through the Harbinger fleet. The rift generator exploded in a burst of energy, collapsing the dimensional rift and cutting off the Harbinger's reinforcements. But the explosion did not stop the destruction. The Harbingers, seeing their plans unravel, made one final act of defiance. The remaining warlords activated their ship's self-destruct mechanisms, sending waves of energy through the galaxy, targeting the heart of Orion itself. Chapter 6: The Last of Orion. As the Harbinger's forces collapsed, the battle reached its final moments. The fleet of allies Nebu, Black League, and human forces managed to retreat, but not without heavy losses. Sarkale stood at the bridge of the Raz Ember, watching as the remnants of the Harbinger fleet disintegrated in the wake of their destruction. "We did it," Hunter said, breathing a sigh of relief. Sarkale nodded, his expression somber. "Yes, but the cost was too high." With the rift destroyed and the Harbingers vanquished, Orion was safe for now, but the galaxy had been changed forever. The Nebu Empire was no more, and the Orion Black League had been decimated. Humanity had proven itself worthy, but the wounds of war would take generations to heal. The galaxy had witnessed its darkest hour and survived, but as Sarkale stared into the stars, he knew that peace was fleeting. The cosmos was vast, and there would always be new threats. Orion had not fallen, but the Harbingers were only the beginning. The end.